in the interest of time, we'll just go ahead and get started. I know we have a lot of people to to go through for introductions, and there may be questions on the first pre-assignment for installing Pycharm and Python. So I want to make sure to give some time for that at the end. So give me just one moment, and I'm just going to pull up our syllabus. We can review that right after I introduce myself, and then we'll go around and everybody will give an introduction. So basically, just for the plan for today, we're just going to go through. I'm going to introduce myself, and then I'll have my teaching assistant Braj introduce himself, and one of our students from the last term has joined, Hugh. So he'll also introduce himself and hopefully say a little bit about his experience with the course last term. And then we'll go over the syllabus, and then we'll go around and everybody will get a chance to introduce themselves. So for myself, my name is David Sciacca. I'm going to be your teacher for this course. A little bit about me: I live in Aurora, Colorado, in the USA. So my time zone is the Mountain Time Zone. So on the invite, you might have seen that, right now it's 8 a.m. for me. I know it's in the afternoon for most all of you. It's pretty early in the morning for me. Just keep that in mind whenever we're communicating, through email or text or phone calls or whatever, that, we are on very different time zones. So I may be slow to respond, and so that's expected. But anyway, yeah, so I live in Aurora, Colorado, USA. I grew up in Colorado, actually. I'm from a small town called Monument, Colorado. That's south of Aurora, where I'm at. So yeah, so it's south of where I am. It's near Colorado Springs, which is another big town or another big city in Colorado. Aurora is basically an offshoot of Denver, which is the capital of Colorado. But for those not familiar, Colorado is pretty centrally located in the United States. But aside from that, some of my professional background. So I have 3 bachelor's degrees. I have one in neuroscience, one in psychology, and then one in computer science. All of them are from Regis University. And then I also got my master's degree from Regis University in data science. Ever since graduating, well, since actually about halfway through my master's program, and as well as after graduating, I've been working for Comcast, which is one of the biggest telecommunications companies in the United States, and I know they have a presence throughout the world, where it's a big conglomerate. So we own companies like NBC, Universal, Sky, Telemundo, things like that. So if you know any of those companies, that's basically the same company that I work for. I work for the parent company. So I've been working at Comcast for about 2.5 years now, and my title is a data engineer too. So what a data engineer does basically is they make data, they create data pipelines to make data available for use by data scientists, essentially. And data scientists are the ones that are going to build your predictive and analytical models off of that data, so that companies can glean actionable insights from their data, so that they can make certain predictions and increase revenue, things like that. So what I actually work with on a day-to-day basis is AWS, which is Amazon Web Services, which is Amazon's cloud computing platform. And then I also use Python on a daily basis as well. So my top skills are Python and AWS, but I also have experience with other languages such as Java, Bash scripting, like a Bash scripting language, JavaScript, and I guess I could keep going, but those are the ones that I'm strongest in. Yeah, trying to think anything else that might be relevant. For other work experience, I also I contract with a company called Applifts, where we do contracting work basically for various organizations that need help with developing various software, whatever apps they might want help building or anything like that. We help to facilitate that essentially. Um, yeah, so that's my professional and personal background, I guess, aside from programming and things like that. I just love, getting outside as much as possible. I'm big into gardening, hiking, camping, backpacking, and skiing. Um, yeah, so that's it for me. I'm looking forward to this term with all of you. And with that, I'd like to pass it off to Vraj to introduce himself, and then after him, we'll do Hugh, and then we'll go over the syllabus, and we'll go around the room for everybody else to introduce themselves. So, Vraj, take it away.
Hi everyone. I am Vraj. I'll be your teaching assistant, and I'm from Vancouver, Canada. I'm a third-year student in computer science, and I'm planning to major in artificial intelligence. I am from Kenya. I completed my high school in Kenya, and then I moved to Canada 2 years back for my further studies. And yeah, and I I have my top skills in programming is I've been mostly working on C++, C, Java, and Python. And I'm currently actually working on developing a website for gamers and in one of my courses with some of my other friends. And yeah, that's it about me. And other than studying, I like going out with my friends and doing some activities, outdoor activities. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you, Vraj. Yep, Vraj is one of our two teaching assistants. Gaurav is the other teaching assistant. He wasn't able to make it today, unfortunately, but feel free to reach out to any of us if you have any questions at all throughout the course. We're here to help. If you have a question, chances are that someone else in the class has that question. So if you feel comfortable, please ask it during the lectures or on the YouTube videos that we'll upload from each lecture. That really helps people. Chances are, if you have a question, someone else has that same question, they may just feel uncomfortable asking it. And there's no such thing as a stupid question. Programming is very difficult. You will have questions, and if you don't ask them, you're going to struggle. So please do ask myself, Raj, or Gaurav with any questions you might have, and we'll be happy to help as much as possible. All right, great. Thank you, Raj. Hugh, can you introduce yourself, maybe speak a little bit to the last term of the course?
Hi, everybody. Thank you, David. My name is Hugh. I just graduated from the Coding Academy last batch, this last month, June. It was very interesting and good course. I've learned a lot about programming using Python. My project was on blockchain technology. It was developing a simple blockchain technology using Python. Right now, at the moment, I'm busy learning about graph database and also Neo4j in order to develop a platform that will be able to perform the sales of property land using blockchain. Like my project using blockchain was the main purpose was to develop something that will be easy to use, especially for people who want to buy and sell property, but this time on a blockchain platform, so that they can be guaranteed that they won't be, there is some level of guarantee with the blockchain technology. So like I said earlier on, I've learned a lot. It was the 3-month course was very intensive, one course each week, the Saturday. And the assignment was the difficult part of it, because previously I just use Stata as a software and SPSS to some extent, but I wasn't familiar with the programming using Python or stuff like that. So it was very challenging for me. It was good. I've learned a lot, and now I'm very happy about it. Thank you.
It's okay.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Hugh, for the introduction and a little bit about the course, about last term's course. Yeah, if you're at all interested in learning more about Hugh's project and what he went through and what he learned and challenges he faced and everything like that, we've uploaded the final presentations from last term to YouTube on the PPiAI YouTube channel. So please check it out if you're interested in learning more. And there's also lectures from the first half of the course. We'll be going through those same lectures in this course. But if you want to recap, want to hear things said a little differently, maybe want to hear the questions asked in the last term, I highly encourage you to check out the videos on our YouTube channel. Great. So I'm really quickly going to go over the syllabus for the course, and then I would like to go around and have everybody introduce themselves after that, and then I'm going to talk a little bit about the pre-assignment and see if there are any questions on that. Make sure everybody's up to speed, because that pre-assignment is absolutely crucial to making it any further in the course. If you can't install Python, we can't use Python, and Pycharm will make it a whole lot easier to use compared to just using Python on its own or some simple text editor. So we want to make sure that you have the tools in place to ensure your success. So let me go ahead and pull up the syllabus, and then we can go over that real fast, and then we'll go around for introductions. Let me share my screen. All right, hopefully you all can see my screen. Please let me know if you can't, and apologies if the quality isn't great. If it isn't, feel free to pull this up on your end, or I should have emailed it to you all. Please let me know if you didn't get it, and I'll make sure to send that out. So this is our syllabus for term 2 of the PPiAI coding course. So up top here, we just have my name, my telephone number, my email address, and our class days and time. Just something to call out that we will have our lectures initially at 2 o'clock GMT through November 6th, but then on November 13th, that'll shift to 3 o'clock GMT. The reason for that is just that in the US we have daylight savings time, so our times shift, and 8 a.m. Mountain Time is what is the only time that really works for me. I've come to find it worked out perfect. It worked out perfectly last term, so I want to make sure that we maintain that time. But yeah, and then down here we have our teaching assistants, Gaurav and Vraj, as well as their email addresses. Again, feel free to email any of us or all three of us with any questions you might have. Best approach is probably to email all three of us. That's how you can make sure you're going to get a response back as quickly as possible. So a brief course description here. Basically, we're going to be doing an introduction to programming. We'll learn the basics of programming with its principles, some basic algorithms and logic. All of you will engage in hands-on programming using the Python programming language, which is why it's important to make sure that you have Pycharm and Python installed, because you're going to actually be doing some hands-on programming yourself. And we'll learn about variables, data structures, functions and arguments, lists, loops, and classes, and provide a solid foundation for more advanced study as well as practical skills that you can all immediately use. So our course goals are to use software programs that are common in the IT workspace and learn and apply introductory programming skills to solve specific problems. And we'll also write and test code throughout the course. And upon successful completion, you should all be able to read Python code and glean a basic understanding of what the purpose of that program is, write code in Python to solve specifically defined problems, and test and debug Python code. Yeah, So then required textbooks, we just have this Python Notes for Professionals. So this is just a link to the PDF version of the textbook. You can download it onto your local machine, or you can just access it over the internet, totally up to you. I personally recommend downloading it, then you don't need internet access to get to it. So if your internet ever is out or anything like that, you can still have access to our textbook. And then there may be other readings as assigned, but that's just kind of a catch-all in case there's something else I think that you should all read. But I don't think we had any last term, so don't worry too much about that. So system requirements, you need to make sure that you have access to a computer that has Windows, Mac OS, or Linux operating systems installed, and you must have admin privileges. You're going to need to be able to install Pycharm and Python. So you know, you need to make sure that you have the ability to install those things. Great. So assignments, you'll get an assignment at the end of each lecture, with the exception of today. We gave it as a pre-assignment instead, so you'd have some time to ask questions in this lecture. But for every lecture from here on, you'll get an assignment after. And it's expected that you complete the assignment and turn them in via email before the following lecture. Otherwise, it'll be considered a failed assignment. I'll provide feedback on the submissions and give a pass-fail grade on each assignment. So just make sure you submit it, even if you know you're really struggling and you don't think it's up to snuff. Just submit it anyway, because if you don't submit it by the next class, then it's considered a fail. But if you submit it by the next class, then I can give you feedback on that assignment, and you'll get an additional week after that first submission to make any updates to the assignment, as many as needed. So, you know, say you turn it in on Saturday, you get a fail grade on it, and I give some feedback, and then you turn it in again on Sunday, another fail grade and feedback. You can keep doing that until the next Saturday. So, you know, really make sure that you're keeping up with it, submitting the assignment as quickly as possible after the initial feedback. This will help to guarantee that you'll get a passing grade by the time, you know, that 2 weeks is up. So the final due date for revisions is before the second lecture after the assignment was initially assigned. So you'll have 2 weeks, but, you know, keep in mind, you get the assignment, it's due a week after that. Make sure you submit it within a week after you do that submission. Then you can then if there's any feedback provided or changes needed to be made, you'll have another week to make those, so long as you had submitted the assignment initially within a week. So classroom protocol, please join on time. Ensure you're muted when you join, so that there aren't any disruptions to the lectures, especially if you're running late. And if you have any questions or comments you'd like to share with the class, please post them to the chat. I'll do my best to address them, and I'll also give breaks here and there for questions, for like verbal questions. But, you know, putting them in the chat, I'll keep the chat open, and then I can keep an eye on any questions. So we are going to be giving certificates of completion in this course. So they will be issued at the end of the course to each student who meets all of the following criteria. You must attend at least 80% of lectures. So that so of the lectures, I believe we have 11 or 12. So you need to make sure that basically you attend at least like 9 or 10 of those. Otherwise, if you're not attending all the lectures, you're gonna get a failing grade. You know, you can't learn anything if you're not attending the lectures. But I know that for some of you, it might be hard to attend all the lectures on time. So if you're unable to attend the lecture in person, you may view the lecture recording on YouTube after the fact. But in order for this to count in lieu of attendance, you must post a comment to the YouTube recording within 1 week of the original lecture time. So basically before the next lecture after that one was posted. And you have to state 3 things you learned from the lecture and 2 questions you had on the contents of the lecture. This is new stuff. It's challenging stuff. I know you're going to have questions. So you will absolutely be able to come up with 2 questions. Please make sure that they're distinct questions from what someone has already asked. I don't want, you know, people just copy pasting the same questions or anything like that. Same goes for what you learned. But of course, there can be overlap if that's the only thing that you can come up with. Just, you know, I will be looking out for plagiarism. If I see blatant copy and pasting, that will not count as a attendance of that lecture. So please do keep that in mind. You must also receive a passing grade on 80% of assignments. So I believe there are 10 or 11 assignments throughout the course. Basically, you need to get a passing grade on 8 or 9 of those assignments. Because if you don't, then you won't be able to get the certificate of completion. But you know, you do have a week from the initial assignment of the lecture to turn it in, and then as long as you turn it in at that time, then you'll have basically 2 weeks to make revisions. So and I'll be giving feedback along the way, specific feedback that'll help you to get a passing grade. So as long as, you know, you're submitting the assignments, asking questions, and taking the feedback that I give, I don't think there should be any issue in receiving a passing grade on 80% of the assignments. I know that everyone who was actively submitting assignments in the last term, they were able to get a passing grade on most, if not all, of the assignments. And then in the second half of the course, we're going to be doing a final project. So the first half will be lectures. Second half, you'll be doing an independent study type of final project. And you must, in order to receive the certificate of completion, you must actively work on a final project throughout the second half of the course. Evidence of this will be that you either attend and participate in our weekly stand-up meetings during the second half of the course, or you will email the entire class your updates for the week if you're unable to attend stand-up. So don't just email me, Gaurav, and Vraj your updates. If you're unable to attend the weekly stand-up, you need to email it to the whole class. We want the whole class hearing your updates. We want, you know, part of it here is like, you're all in it together, right? We want to hear that, you know, you will struggle. I'm just going to be very upfront about that. You're going to struggle with your assignments. It will be difficult. Programming is difficult, very steep learning curve. But you know, when you're expressing this to the whole class, everybody gets an understanding that they're not alone, and you know, it'll help to build some camaraderie, and it'll help build your confidence that, you know, it's not just you struggling. Everybody's struggling. Everybody's going to have questions. So just please keep that in mind. And then finally, the last requirement is to complete your final project presentation at the end of the course. You can either, this can either be a live demo during one of the 2 final presentation sessions at the end of the course, or a recorded with audio thing, or a recorded video with audio and submitted to me. Ideally, we'll post it to YouTube, but you know, if you submit it to me, then I can just we can play it to the class during one of those sessions if you're unable to attend. But you have 2 options there. Just that you must do a final project presentation. This does not mean that you have to actually finish whatever your final project set out to do. It just, you know, it just means that you have to have a presentation on what you did so far, what you learned, next steps, etc. We'll go over that more in detail when the time comes. We have a good while until that happens. And then just down here is the course schedule. So today we're just doing the course in pure introductions. We're going to talk about software installation here in a second. Next week, we'll start going over data types, variables, and operators in Python. And reading, please read these chapters in our textbook. I highly recommend following along as you go in your like Python REPL environment. I'll show you what that is in a second here. It helps a lot just to get that muscle memory of typing things out and seeing it run. And at that time, assignment 1 will be due. Assignment 1 is basically making sure that you have your software installed, both Python and Pycharm, because of course you can't work on assignment 2 until you get assignment 1 done. But yeah, then week 3 we'll do conditionals and data structures part 1, then data structures part 2 in week 4, part 3 in week 5. So there's a lot about data structures. They're the foundation of any programming language, so that's why we'll spend a lot of time on them. Then we'll move on to loops, iterables, and iterators, and then input and output, or I/O operations with files and folders. Then we'll learn about functions, and we'll talk about classes and error handling, and then we'll talk about modules and packages, then unit testing. And then after that, we'll have a mid-course break where we won't have any class on September 18th. And then on September 25th, we'll have a session to brainstorm final project ideas. And after that, for the rest of the course, we'll have weekly check-ins on project updates. These will be the weekly stand-up meetings that I mentioned earlier. And then in the last 2 weeks, we'll have final project presentations. And again, we'll talk more about what that will entail when the time comes. But the last day of the course will be December 11th. So that's the outline for the course. Any questions on the syllabus itself? All right, great. Oh, it sounds like
Mr. David.
Yeah.
Hello, Mr. David.
Hey.
I have a question.
Go ahead.
Well, thank you. Well, my name is Mungotti Akimaraban. Well, my question goes thus. You said we are going to read some chapters in a particular book. Is it the same book you pasted the links that we are going to download and read, or there's another book you are going to recommend for us to read in relation with the construction?
Yeah, the book is this one right here. It's just this. It's publicly available. If you're unable to access it, please let me know. I can go ahead and email you a PDF version of this book if that would be easier. But this is it right here. If you download it and all that, then you can just come in and you go to the contents here. So say, for next week, you're going to need to read 1.1 to 1.4, chapter 2 through 9 and 15. So you want to go to like 1.1 here, read this whole section through 1.4, and then chapter 2, chapter 9, and chapter 15. They're relatively short chapters, and they have like coding examples as you go. So like here they have like actual code that you can use to kind of learn what's going on here. So yeah, great question. Thank you for asking, Akeem.
Thanks.
Of course.
Thanks for answering the questions. So I want to go further. I want to solicit for emailing the PDF if that will be acceptable by you to us. And I'm saying this on behalf of all the other members. If you could email the PDF of the book to us, I'm always soliciting for that. I don't know if it will be acceptable to you.
Sorry, I'm having trouble hearing you, Akeem. Could you maybe put your follow-up question in the chat? I want to make sure that I am hearing it.
Okay, what I'm saying is this: I want to solicit for the PDF versions of the book to our emails on behalf of the class, if that would be acceptable to you.
Yeah, I can. If you're asking about me sending you a PDF version of the book, yeah, I will gladly send you a PDF version of the book. Someone else in the chat has requested the same, so I'll just go ahead and send the PDF version of the book to the whole class. That'll probably be easier. Yeah, thank you for your questions, Akeem. This is really helpful. See, this is why I want you to ask these questions, because Akeem asked about getting a PDF version of the book. Someone else put, albeit in a direct message to me, about getting the book. So someone else had the same question as Akeem did. So please do ask questions. It's extremely valuable to everybody, and I'm always happy to answer. No such thing as a dumb question. All right. Any other questions?
Hi, David.
Hey.
Hi, everyone. David, I have a question. I went through the content of the book, and there's a lot of examples. Mm-hmm. And I would like to, if you can give us an approach to learn from the book, because I see some there are some chapters has a lot of examples that can be quite time consuming, and sometimes I was a bit frustrated when I saw some examples. And what is the best approach and when we go through that book?
Yeah, so great question. Yeah, the examples can seem like a lot, and they can seem kind of overwhelming. I totally get that. It'll make more sense as we learn about the materials and all that. But yeah, best approach. Let's just go ahead and do that. Let me pull up Pycharm real fast. So here's Pycharm. This is what it'll look like once you've installed it. Hopefully you've all already installed it and seen this screen before. I'm just going to come in here, create a new project. It's going to be pure Python. I'm going to give it a virtual environment. We'll talk a little bit about why virtual environments are so helpful, but basically it keeps everything isolated from the rest of your other projects and compute and things in your computer. So PPiAI, cool. Just create that project with the virtual environment. So that was just like starting everything out. But so two options here for actually going along with what's present in the book. What you can do is you can like expand here and you can create, right click, go to new file, and then we can create like a lecture1.py file. And then what I can do is I can have these side by side, and I can actually put the code into my file here, and then I'll show you how to run it in just a moment. But say we want to put all this stuff here, I can do a_stir, and then hello world, and then print a stir, and print a stir. Oops, need the underscore. A stir 0. So we're indexing there. We'll talk more about this. I know this doesn't make sense yet. I'm just we will talk about it, and I'm happy to answer questions if you have them. But since it's kind of out of scope for this particular part of the course, or where we're at right now in the course, please just ask the questions in the chat or in an email to me. So you can do it like this, and then you can come up here and we can run the file. So right click on it and then click run. And we'll see what happened here. So that I created the string and then I printed out hello world. I printed out the H, I printed out hello, all that stuff. We'll talk about indexing later on. But another thing that I recommend, I think this is the best approach, is you can come down here to the Python console. So hopefully you can see my mouse down at the bottom. There's this little tab, Python console. And then this is called a REPL environment. What that stands for is read, evaluate, print, loop. So what happens here is I will put in some code. So say I put in a_stir and then equals hello world. So I enter that, the Python reads it, it evaluates it, and then if there's anything to print out to the console, it'll print it out to the console. There's nothing to print out to the console right now. So that's why it's just a blank line here. But then if I do this with like print a stir, it'll read it, evaluate it, and print what's in there, and then it just loops. It goes back to the beginning, and now I can go on to the next thing with printing a stir bracket 0. Yeah, and you can go through line by line like this. I really like the REPL environment. It helps a lot while you're learning, so highly recommend leveraging this. Because you get that instant feedback of, did I do something right? Because if you mess something up, like say you try to print B stir instead of A stir, you'll get an error, and it'll tell you like B stir is not defined because we defined our variable as A stir. We'll go more into this in our first week, but yeah, great question. Thank you for that question. It's very important to go over. So I hope that was helpful in how to follow along with the book. Otherwise, just read it, try to interpret it, follow along with the examples. A lot of times it just helps to see it happen, because it can be quite confusing just seeing code here and not knowing, what's actually happening here. Like where here they say like output will be a whole string, hello world, and all that stuff. Like, what does that mean? Well, now you can see here when you actually do it. When I did print a stir, it printed hello world. When I printed a stir bracket 0, it printed H, and we'll talk more on why that is later on in the course. But yeah, great question. Thank you for the question. I see another question in the chat. So hello, David, by stating that the passing mark is 80%, does that mean 80% average of all assignments combined, or making sure of surrendering 80% of all assignments? So great question. So you actually do need to turn in 80% of all assignments. This is because we're just doing pass fail grades on the assignment. So it would be hard to determine whether or not you got 80% on the assignment, because it's a Boolean. We'll talk more about Booleans later on, but there's only two values. It's either pass or fail, 0 or 1. So you must submit all assignments because you need to be able to pass those assignments, and you do need to pass 80% of assignments. Trust me, like if you take the feedback and you do actively work on the assignments, I am confident that all of you can get passing grade on 80%, if not 100% of the assignments. The people who made it all the way through the course in our last term, they got passing grades on every single assignment, I believe. So yeah, Any other questions before I move on? All right, great. Thank you all so much for the questions so far. This is great. Again, I can't say it enough. Questions are extremely important. If you have the question, chances are someone else has that same exact question. So please ask. I'm here to help you. I can't read your mind. You know, if you have a question, I don't know that you have that question until you voice it to me. So please do ask your questions. They help me help you, and they help the whole class. Cool. So great. So hey.
Sorry, I have another question. Sorry to continue. And
No
what can you give us 3 advices for a coding beginner?
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, that's a great question. So 3 advice for a coding beginner. Just know you will struggle. With programming, there's an extremely steep learning curve. So expect that struggle and persist through in that struggle. Perseverance is what it's all about here. It's difficult, trust me. When I first learned how to code, I was banging my head against a wall trying to figure out you know, what now seemed like relatively simple coding problems. You get better at it with practice. So another piece of advice, just practice a lot. So the 2 so far: expect to struggle and persevere through it. Second one, you know, like, just practice. The best thing you can do is practice. Come in here along with the book, write the code that they're giving here in the examples. Maybe try to adapt the examples and try to learn from all that stuff. The only way you can learn it is with practice. You've got to get some hands-on practice there. And then a last piece of advice. Let's see. Yeah. So don't be afraid to ask questions, whether it's to me, to your peers, or to Google. There are answers out there for any of the questions you might have. I still have questions about programming every day. I Google a lot of questions. My coworkers and I are always going back and forth on asking each other questions and making sure that we understand what the requirements are and how best to approach something. So always ask questions and always keep learning. Like with programming, you'll never stop learning. You're never going to get to a comfortable place where you know it all, because it's always changing. There's always new technology to learn about. So yeah, stay curious and keep asking those questions, keep learning. So yeah, those are my 3 points of advice. Persevere through it all, ask questions and keep learning, and then practice. That's, you know, if you do those 3 things, I guarantee you'll succeed with programming. But, you know, again, just know it is very difficult. You will struggle, so expect that, because it's going to happen. No one gets it all right from the beginning. I guarantee it. Thank you for the question, Ronald. I'm loving these questions. I think this is super helpful to everybody.
Thank you.
Any other questions? All right, great. So I did want to go around and have everybody introduce themselves, but I don't know. I want to make sure first that we only have 15 minutes left. So I want to make sure that we have time to answer any questions or issues anyone might have had on installing Python or Pycharm. Is anyone stuck there? Does anyone have questions on that? I want to make sure that you're all set up for success, because you're not going to make any progress in the course if you can't install Python in the first place. So I want to make sure that we at least get you to that point.
Hi, David.
Hello.
Yeah.
I have a problem installing the Pycharm.
Yeah, you're having an issue installing
the license.
Python? Oh, okay. Yeah.
Yes.
So I think I need to. That's totally my fault. I don't know if I was clear enough in the install. So when you install Pycharm, you need to make sure that you're installing the community edition. Great question. You're not the only person with this question. Someone else asked me the same thing about this before the course started. So when you come here to the downloads, if you click download, it's initially going to bring you to this page. They want you to go for the professional version. It's a paid version of Pycharm. I don't even use the paid version of Pycharm in my work, you know, as a professional data engineer, because I just don't need the features that it has. You can get by with the community edition here. Just make sure that you download the community edition. It'll be the black button instead of the blue button. So yeah, make sure to install the community edition. The professional one will require a license to use. The community does not. It's completely open source and it's free. It's free to use. So yeah, hopefully that will help. If you've already accidentally installed the professional version, not a problem at all. Just delete that install and come back and install the community edition. If you continue to have issues there, please let me know. But that should resolve it for you. I believe it solved it for the other person who had that same exact question. So thank you for asking that question. I'm sure there's others in here who had the same issue. Any others? Oh, and I realized I wasn't sharing my screen when I was trying to show you the Pycharm download. So let me just pull that up real fast. So in here, here's what when you come to the JetBrains page, go to download. So make sure that first off, make sure you have the right operating system selected: Windows, Mac OS, or Linux. For me, I'm on a Mac OS, so I would come here and you want to download the community edition, not the professional edition. One other thing to note, you may need to look at your system requirements. If you continue to have issues with the community edition, you might need to install an older version of Pycharm. So for that, you can come to this other versions link here. It gets a little more complicated here, but just if you have any issues with it, just email me, Vraj and Gaurav, with your system's system specifications. Like, we need to know whether or not your operating system is 32-bit or 64-bit. And I think that's really it. And then we can find, you know, the right version of Pycharm for you to install. It's not going to be a problem if you have to install an old version. I know one person has reached out with this same issue already, and they had to install, I believe, a 2018 version of Pycharm because they have a 32-bit Windows machine. That's going to be totally fine. We're going to be using the most basic features of Pycharm, so you'll be able to get through the course, no problem at all, with an older version of Pycharm. Of course, they always recommend the newest version if your system can support it. But yeah, I hope that helps. Any other questions? All right. If there are no other questions, then I think it'd be great if if we can go around and everyone, if you could come off mute one at a time and just talk very briefly, introduce yourself, where you're from, and what you hope to get out of this course. That would be excellent. You know, we're all in this together, so I want you all to hopefully build some relationships where you can, you know, ask each other questions as well, help each other out.
Yeah, so I think I'll go first.
Sounds great. Go ahead.
My name is Dennis Kore. I'm joining you from Nairobi, Kenya. My background is in communication and public policy. So I hope to be able to use data to grow my skills and producing evidence-based decision-making. But I'm also interested in scaling up and knowing how to do data visualization. Thank you, and great to meet you all. I am looking forward to interacting with everyone as well as the faculty. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Dennis. I appreciate you kicking us off, and it was great to meet you as well. I think you and Hugh might get along well. I think you're both in the public policy space. Anyway, who would like to go next?
I'm going next. My name is Olakode Akim Oyobami. I'm a Nigerian. I'm a graduate of economics So definitely I'm a little bit familiar with some software applications like eViews, data, and I have passion for coding, even though I don't have a computer science background. But I have the passion to learn coding like Python in order to solve people's challenge. Because the work I do, I deal with consumers' needs and how to solve their needs and challenges, like the user's experience, user interface, in order to solve some challenges about our using data. So that's what I'm looking for concerning this Python course, and I'll be very appreciative to sit the end of this course. I'm here. So I'll say I'm glad and I appreciate me and more people to be the beneficiary of this. So thank you very much. I appreciate you.
Awesome. Thank you, Akeem. It's great to meet you. I know we've talked a little bit before the course, but yeah, it's interesting to hear that you have a little bit of background in computer science. I'll be interested to hear how things go for you throughout the course, because I know that helps a tremendous amount to have a little bit of a background on programming, especially with learning a new language. But yeah, great to meet you, and thank you for the introduction. Who'd like to go next?
I can go next. I don't know.
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, my name is Olivia Tunuga. I'm living in Douala in Cameroon. I have a background in procurement management, and if I get through this opportunity, sorry, my English is not perfect, so I will try my best. I just want to be more competitive on the employment in our country. So things are so difficult here. So I think this opportunity will help me to be more competitive, to get more skills, and to make something great in my professional domain. So that's why I'm here, and I hope that I will go ahead at the end. So I'm nice to meet you, everyone in here. I hope we will know each other more. Then that's all.
Great. Thank you, Olivia. Yeah, I think programming is one of the best ways that you can improve your job prospects. You know, one thing that I loved about it when I got started is it lets me choose any industry that I want to work in. Just about any industry will have some use case that requires some programming knowledge. It's a super valuable skill in my opinion. You know, of course I'm biased because that's the industry I work in, but yeah, I think you're spot on, and it's a great idea to use programming as a way to further your career prospects. So, and great to meet you. All right, who'd like to go next?
Thank you.
Can I? Could you? Can I go?
Go ahead. Yeah.
Hi, my name is Patricia, and I'm from the Congo. I live in France, in the Parisian region. And at first, my background, I did management studies, and right now I'm trying to switch from management so that I can become an accountant. And the whole, why do I want to do this? It's because it's very important now for accountants, especially if you want to go further to become a business partner, work, because my idea, what I want, my aim is to work as a business partner in the IT department. So if I'm to work with IT engineers, all those people, programmers, I need to know at least something. I shouldn't go there, deal only with numbers. I need to be business acumen so that at least I know what I'm talking about.
I'm not sure if maybe we lost you, Patricia. It looks like your video froze and your audio as well. But you know, as someone in the tech industry, I really appreciate you trying to learn some coding in order to be able to communicate better and all that with IT people. It helps us out a lot, because something that a lot of IT professionals struggle with is putting things into terms that someone who's not in the industry can easily understand. So I think it'll help you, and it'll help your coworkers tremendously if you can kind of get into the jargon that they might be speaking. It'll help the communications go a lot faster, and it'll be a lot easier for the IT professionals, just because it can be quite difficult to try to put it into like to try to communicate these complex and high level things with someone who doesn't do anything programming wise. And that's not anything against anyone who doesn't know how to program. It's just it's difficult. It's difficult stuff, and there's a lot of technical terms and all that stuff. So it gets hard to do that translation. So I think it'll help people out a lot if you can kind of speak their language, if you will. So yeah, thank you for that, Patricia. And great to meet you. Who would like to go next?
I'll go next.
Cool, go ahead.
I'm Paul from Cameroon, the Southwest. And for me, it's just trying to make myself more available and just to get another skill to better my options. Right now here, it's really tough, like as far as get jobs wise, and just getting something which you can rely on as a job out here. So I just want to get another skill which could broaden my options. And I have no idea about what coding is, but I have a couple of friends who are in the IT department and are doing quite well. So that was my thing. I'm looking forward to doing extremely well, actually. So hi to everybody else, and I guess we'll talk more as class goes on.
Awesome. Yeah. Yeah, I think you're making a great choice, and not a problem at all that you don't know anything about coding so far. That's exactly what this class is for. You'll learn a lot throughout the course, and yeah, I have to agree that I think it will help your job prospects a lot. It's a very flexible skill. You can get into any industry basically with programming. So yeah, great to meet you, Paul, and thank you for the introduction. All right, who would like to go next?
Hi everyone. Okay, let's go. Who is next? I hear someone talking.
Yeah, it sounded like two of you. Okay, cool.
Okay.
Yeah, go ahead. Yeah, I think Ronald, if you want to go ahead, and then Fanuel after Ronald.
Okay, hi everyone again.
Hey.
Hello.
Hey, go ahead.
Can I go on? Okay. Hi everyone once again. I'm Ronald King Fukui, and I'm the field of finance. I'm an accountant, and thank you for the opportunities that PPiAI offers us, and thank you to the lecturers for the opportunity that they offer us. And I come into coding because I'm also a small entrepreneur, and with a lot of activities, and sometimes I'm struggling with a lot of activities at the same time, and I see it as an opportunity to improve my to improve some activities, and or if I can say to automate some activities so that I can save a lot of time. And it will also help me to teach my kid, because some of my kids are doing IT robotic in school, and sometimes they come and ask me some question. I'm off, and I couldn't they see that I know nothing about it. So at least we can start talking, chatting after this course. Let me put the video because it's good also to, yeah, almost, so that someone can recognize me. I don't know, we can see in another place, and yeah, it's good. Yeah. Okay, thank you again for the opportunity. And
of course, yeah, and thank you for the introduction.
And we hope we will enjoy it. And David, I have another question. Sorry to make it a bit longer. And is it possible to have is it possible to find a dictionary? Because when I went through the book, there were some words that I've struggled about it. If I take, for example, the first paragraph was talking about shelf. I would say, hey, what is shelf? What is shelf? Actually, there was some example online shelf. When I click on tree, I saw that actually the shelf is like a window. And yeah, I come back again, if it's possible to have a dictionary that give us a basics definition, or especially for those that English is not the first language.
Yeah, so that's a great question. I'm trying to, so of course the internet is always a great place to ask those types of questions. But if you have any issues with that, you can definitely ask me. But the shell that you're asking about specifically, that's like the Python REPL environment. A shell is another word for it. That's what some people will call it. So excellent question. Yeah. So that's they call it the Python shell. But that's like the REPL environment that I showed earlier. Yeah, excellent question. And if you have any others, please do ask to, like, you know, in the chat or to the whole group. But to your introduction, first off, it's great to meet you. And then also, I think, you know, you're spot on that programming makes everything a lot easier. You know what? One of the things that when I initially was doing my bachelor's in neuroscience and psychology, I had a research internship. And the reason I found out I love programming was because I was taking an intro to programming class at the time. And there was this like very manual data entry task that I was doing in my internship. And I was able to write a simple program that made it, you know, it saved me hours and hours of time of data entry. So you're spot on. Programming is a great way to automate various tasks. Yeah, and great to meet you. So I think Fanuel, you wanted to go next.
Okay, no problem. Hi everyone, and I hope you guys are doing well. My name is Fanuel. I'm joining from South Africa. So I have a background in economics. I'm familiar with what you call data and EVs, and many companies in South Africa are sort of like transitioning from these two programming languages to Python. So the reason why I'm here is because I want to learn about the Python programming, just to see the difference, especially the difference between Python and Stata, just to see which one is better. But I feel like Python is the good one. That's why I'm here. Yeah, thank you.
Awesome. Yeah, I mean, every programming language and every programming tool, they have their relative merits. You know, the nice thing about a language like Python is it's extremely flexible. It can do most anything that you would want to be done with programming, but there are always trade-offs. So, you know, just because we're learning Python here, it doesn't mean it's the best language in the world or anything. Personally, I think that, but, you know, I'm biased because I'm a Python developer. I always argue with one of my friends about Python versus R, but, you know, the R programming language is much better for mathematical use cases and things like that. But for things like scripting and more generalized use cases, I think Python's better. And it can do everything that R can. It's just that R makes it a little simpler for certain mathematical use cases. So just a little example there of, you know, the trade-offs between programming languages. Yeah, great to meet you, Fanuel. Thanks for the introduction. All right, who'd like to go next?
I will.
I can go next.
Cool. Let's
Okay.
do
my name.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, my name is Patrick Mungotti. I work from Kenya, and I work with an organization called Kenya Connect. Our work is to deal with teachers and students to improve the quality of education. And I am here because I want to learn about coding so that I can help students, young students, maybe come up with coding camps, help them maybe start early. So my goal is how can I be able to help the young student start coding early or start learning how to code at a young age. Thank you.
Awesome, and that's a great vocation you have there, Patrick. Very admirable to be teaching kids how to code. You know, I wish I learned how to code sooner. It's one of those things that I feel like I would have an even better handle on it if I had learned how to code sooner. Of course, there's definitely some technical challenges to learning it as a kid. You know, you got to have like a certain level of knowledge of math at some point to really excel in programming. But I know a number of programs out there, at least in the US, teaching kids how to code. So it's definitely possible. And I definitely admire what you're doing out there. So great to meet you. And then it looked like we had someone else who wanted to go next.
Good evening.
Hey.
My name is Hawa Khalil, and I'm an electrical engineer from Kano, Nigeria. I had my first degree in electrical engineering and my second degree in telecommunications engineering. I want to learn how to code so that I can broaden my knowledge. And we run an NGO, the Association of Professional Women Engineers in Nigeria. It's a non-governmental, non-profit organization that encourages the girl child to take up engineering. So I believe with this program, I can help the girl child take up engineering. Thank you.
Awesome, great to meet you, Hawa. Yeah, that another excellent vocation there, getting women into programming. It's something that a lot of people don't necessarily know this, but it actually started out as a woman-dominated field, and then that shifted sometime in I think it was in like the 70s or something. But some of the most impactful programs out there were initially developed by women, and there's not enough diversity in programming. I work with too many other men, but it's great to see that you're trying to get women started early in learning how to program. That's great. I think that's going to only help the industry a lot going forward. And great to meet you. It looks like we have an introduction from in the chat. I'll just go ahead and read it. It's from Mike Matelli. He said he's from Kericho, Kenya, and apologies if I'm pronouncing anything wrong. So he said, great to see you all. He has a background in information technology, and he's looking forward to learn more of the Python programming language. Awesome. Great to meet you, Mike. And it's awesome that you have a background in IT. I think that'll help you excel in the course. Hopefully it'll help you maybe answer some questions that other people might have as well. All right, cool. So I haven't really been keeping track of all of who's gone, but it seems like we've gotten most people, but I do see some names in here that I haven't heard yet. Who would anyone like to go next?
I can go next.
Awesome.
Okay, my name is Bratipa Kioko. I'm from Kenya. I'm an undergraduate doing a public policy and administration. And I'm also a software developer of a website. So my purpose of learning this course is to get a knowledge about the backend development of the website. So thank you so much.
Great to meet you, Pratipa, and yeah, I think it'll help a lot. Python is a great language to use for backend development. I don't know if you've heard of the Django framework. That's DJANGO, but it's a great framework to use for backend web development. So if you haven't heard of it yet, I highly recommend looking into that. Maybe that's something you can do for your final project. If you're already familiar with a lot of programming concepts, I don't know what language you use, if it's Python or maybe JavaScript for web development or HTML or what, but hopefully that knowledge will help you in learning Python as well. I'm sure it will. So great to meet you. All right, who's next?
Hello.
Hey.
My name is Paul Emile. Chouap from Cameroon. I'm a optician, and I want to learn coding because I want to write a program to manage an optical cabinet.
Awesome.
I've come late. I've come late because my computer, we have electricity problem that the light went off since this morning. That's why I'm using my phone now to connect.
Makes sense. Yeah. Well, great to meet you, Paul Emile. Am I getting that right?
Yes.
Great. Yeah. Okay. So it's great to meet you. We have another Paul in the class. So it helps that you're a Paul Emile. But I think that's a great project that you want to work on. Definitely keep that in mind for when it comes around for the final project part of the course. And if you missed anything because of your technical difficulties earlier today, I'll be posting today's session to YouTube. So definitely recommend catching up on that. If you missed anything, I introduced myself, others introduced themselves, and we went over the syllabus and some examples of how to use Pycharm with the REPL environment for following along with your textbook. So
thank you very much.
Of course, thank you. It's great to meet you.
Thank you.
So who's next? All right, so I'm just going to go through the list here. I don't know that Doris. I don't know that we've heard from you yet. Would you be able to come off mute and introduce yourself? Right, maybe Doris is having some network issues. Let me just move down the list. Mawuli, and apologies if I'm pronouncing your name wrong. Would you be comfortable coming off mute and introducing yourself? All right, well, maybe they're both having some technical difficulties here, but I think everybody else had a chance to introduce themselves. So for Mawuli and Doris, if you can hear me, if you could maybe do a short introduction over email to the whole class, that would be excellent. But I know we're about 15 minutes over today, and apologies for going over. I know all of you may have busy lives. It looks like Mawuli came off mute. Could you introduce yourself?
Hello, my name is Mawuli. From Ghana, Accra. Yes, so I just completed a course in postgraduate data science and business analytics. And I think the program that was used was R. So I was interested in learning about Python as well. So when I heard of this opportunity, I quickly grabbed it, and I'm hoping to learn a lot from you. I'm hoping to know the in and out of Python. I want a change in career. I want to become like you. So hoping you teach me a lot, and we'll create a career path. You help me in creating a career path, where to go from here, so that eventually I can get to where I want to get to. Thank you.
Awesome. Great to meet you, Mawuli. And yeah, like I was saying, you already know plenty about R. R is great for mathematical use cases, but if you want to expand beyond those use cases, I think Python is definitely a great way to go. Yeah, I like I said, I always have these little discussions with one of my good friends about R versus Python, because she's an R developer and she works in data analytics, studying COVID use cases and things like that. And we always, go back and forth on which one's better, R or Python, and she always wins out when we're talking about a mathematical use case. But I like to think I win when I'm talking about certain other like scripting or web development or data engineering use cases. So yeah, there's definitely merits to both. And I think your background in R will help you a lot in learning Python. I actually learned a good bit of R in my data science program as well. I just ended up, going down the path of Python because I personally like Python a little more. But yeah, great to meet you.
Great to meet you as well. I hope after this, I'll continue having the argument with you. Which one?
I'm looking forward to it.
Thanks, David.
Thank you. All right.
Davy, you have been mute, so we are not getting you. If you can just.
Oh, sorry. Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I was just gonna say, Doris, if maybe you're able to come off mute and introduce yourself, that'd be great. I'll give it a couple minutes or a couple seconds. See if I can. All right. Yeah, maybe some technical difficulties, but anyway, yeah, thank you all so much for joining. Apologies again for going over by 15 minutes. I know you all of your time is valuable, but I appreciate you sticking around for the whole lecture. I'll try to make it more timely in the future, but yeah, for now, just for the before next week, please take some time to do the readings that are specified for week 2. And then we can, and if you have any questions on that, please let me know. The assignment 1 that's due next week is just make sure that you have Python and Pycharm installed. Ideally, you will. So actually, what I would like you to do is once you get Python and Pycharm installed, I'm just going to share my screen here. Just open up your Python REPL environment here at the bottom. Again, it's the Python console down at the bottom. You can review this the YouTube video once I upload it to YouTube to see how I got here. But open this up and just take a screenshot of it opened up. You don't have to put any code in here, anything. I just want to make sure that you've opened Pycharm and that you're able to get to a working Python REPL environment. So please send a screenshot of that. I'll specify that in the follow-up email with the YouTube link, but that'll be assignment 1. It should be pretty straightforward unless you run into any issues installing. And if you do run into any issues installing, please don't hesitate to reach out to myself, Raj, or Gaurav, and we will help to get those resolved before next week. Awesome. So thank you again. Thank you all again for joining. I hope you have a great rest of your weekend and a great upcoming week. I will talk to you all next Saturday, July 10th.
Okay, thank you, David.
Thank you, David. As a reminder.
Thank you. Bye, everyone.
Thank you, David.
The books. Send this to the email, please.
The book?
Yeah, just a reminder to the book.
Yeah, I'll send a PDF of the book to everybody. Thanks for the reminder, Akeem.
Welcome.
Okay, have a nice day, David. Thank you again.
Thank you. You as well, Olivia.
Have a nice day, David.
Thanks, Paul-Emile. You as well.
Thank you.
Bye, David. Have a good day, man.
Thanks, Manuel. You too.
Thanks, man.
Thank you, David.
Thank you, Hawa. Appreciate you joining.
Thank you, David, and nice weekend, everyone.
Thank you, Dennis. You as well.